Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today's conversation is centered around a leadership theme that's not just timely, but deeply transformative. Today's topic is leadership with impact, balancing vision, values, and velocity. Joining us today is someone who exemplifies this balance every day. Welcoming Manu Saigal, Country Manager India at Hayes. She has over 20 years of experience in business transformation, P&L leadership, and strategic workforce solution. Known for her inclusive leadership and client-centric approach, she has led high-impact teams, managed complex stakeholder relationships, and driven innovative growth strategies across sectors. A certified ITIL Foundation V3 and COBIT professional, Manu holds a degree in electronics and communications from Mysore University and a PGP Max from ISB Hyderabad. Manu, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you for having me here.
Wonderful. Looking forward to this exciting session, Manu. So, to begin with, my first question to you is how do you define leadership with impact, especially in today's dynamic and evolving business environment?
Yeah, very, very interesting questions. And I think leadership with impact is about creating outcomes that are sustainable, people-centric, purpose-driven, not just the short-term wins. In a world that's constantly shifting, impactful leaders provide direction amid ambiguity. They inspire belief and ensure that performance doesn't come at the cost of culture or values. They align the vision with execution while staying very deeply connected to the people who bring that vision to life. And I think maybe I could share some of the examples from my own experience. And this is, one such experiences. A lot of all of us would have gone through this during COVID. There was a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty was at the peak, and our priority was not just to have business continuity, but also people continuity. So we kind of set up regular virtual connects to keep the teams informed, keep them emotionally anchored, create a micro support group to track individual well-being, and ensure the open door access to the leadership. So that human first approach resulted in incredibly high levels of trust and engagement, even in the face of operational disruption. And it taught me that clarity and compassion are most stabilizing leadership forces in chaos. Another example that I can think from my previous organization was during a major restructuring, initiative where we transitioned from a regional model to a sector-focused operating structure. Now, this wasn't just a org chart redesign. This was a complete, I would say, a mindset change across the team, and we backed our decisions with, some customer insights, market intelligence, internal performance data, and all that. But we did not even stop there. We involved our people through multiple workshops, feedback loops, open forums. We co-created the design, addressed the concerns head on, and made sure that everyone understood the why behind the change. And what were the results? The results were we retained all our critical talent. We did not lose any. Our net promoter scores were all-time high. And people felt included in the whole process. There's another example of, I think we all leaders go through it when you are creating a strategic plan and plan for a business unit. So instead of pushing down a vision from the top, I consciously chose to involve the cross-functional teams in shaping it. And we gathered inputs across levels, challenged assumptions, tested ideas with customer. We built something that was very practical, at the same time very ambitious. So this process definitely took us a little longer, but the outcome was more grounded. It was widely owned by people, and ultimately, I think it was much more effective because uh, people support what they help create, and that's what makes a strategy more than just a document. So, in all these, instances, the impact wasn't just about the outcome. I think it was about how we go there. And that to me is the essence of impactful leadership, where you are moving with purpose, you're bringing people along, and you're creating the results that endure. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. Beautifully put, Manu. So, just to summarize, firstly, you said creating sustainable outcomes, not short-term wins, is the key. Value-driven, purposeful leadership is the key, which creates the most impact.
Yeah.
Vision that is aligned with execution. And of course, very pertinent examples out there. First one reflecting how human-first approach, plays a key role in any sustainable success that is out there. Second example about understanding the why. And last but not the least, about gathering inputs and being inclusive in terms of. So you end up creating an ecosystem where everybody is heard, valued, and that's how it creates the best impact. So thank you so much. My next question, Manu, is what are the key challenges that you think leaders face in balancing long-term vision with short-term execution?
Yeah, very interesting because, yeah, I think all the leaders deal with this. The biggest challenge is managing the tension between delivering the immediate results and building for the future. Now, business environments today are, they demand speed, they demand agility and quarterly performance. In fact, gone are the days of quarterly performance. We are talking about monthly performance, daily, hourly performance. Uh, but what is important is to create something more meaningful, and sustainable growth comes from uh, strategic bets. And often these strategic bets don't pay off instantly. So the true leadership lies in having the discipline to do both, executing for today while you are investing for tomorrow. And how do you kind of marry this both together? Maybe just an example from my experience. When we made a very deliberate decision to launch a new line of business, even though all existing teams were deeply occupied with business as usual delivery. Now, instead of spreading the existing teams thin, what we did was to ring fence a small focus group to incubate this new vertical, and we kind of shielded them from all the daily operational pressures, while ensuring that they had the freedom to build from the ground up. Now, of course, there were questions at the time, was this the right moment to do this? Could we afford to split focus? Um, would it divert attention from our immediate targets? But we held our ground, and a year later, this new line of business was not only up and running. Um, it had become a key contributor to our monthly revenue and a catalyst for diversified growth. So that experience kind of reinforces a very key leadership lesson, that you cannot build the future if you're always consumed by the present. So long term success often comes from carving out space, both strategically as well as structurally, to nurture what's next, even when the short term doesn't seem to allow for it. So that's my quick take on it.
Sure, beautifully put. So it safely highlights that impacts
Yeah.
come when you keep the long-term vision in mind while navigating through these challenges. And as you rightly said, holding your ground in those moments becomes the key. So thanks a lot for that. My next question, Manu, is can you share an instance where values played a defining role in a critical decision making?
Absolutely. So one situation stands out clearly, and we were very close to closing a large deal that would have given us a very strong boost to our top line. But uh, as we progressed, there were red flags. The red flags emerged around the client's practices that kind of didn't align with our ethical standards. Now, despite the pressure and I would say the temptation to proceed, we made a call to walk away. Now, it wasn't an easy decision for sure, uh, but one thing that I'm very sure of was that it was the right decision. That moment reinforced our core belief that values aren't conditional, they are the foundational. And while we may have lost revenue, but we gained something which was much more powerful, which is credibility and long-term respect from our people and our partners. So, um, uh, that's why in the market one would know the organization, that if they are involved in a particular deal, there's no hanky panky happening there. They know that there's no under the table, and there are no any unethical standards, because that's what we created it for ourselves with some of these tough decisions that we had to take, but the right ones that we had to take. So I think that clearly stands out in my mind. Yeah.
Sure. Just one line, I think that was the highlight of the answer was that values aren't conditional, but rather it should be the foundation of anything that you do. So it sums it up. So moving on, Manu, my next question is how do you maintain leadership velocity without compromising on culture or empathy?
Velocity in leadership isn't just speed. One would always think that way, but it isn't. Um, it's the directional momentum with clarity and purpose. To sustain that kind of velocity, you need an environment where people feel empowered, they feel trusted. You create a safe space for people to take ownership, and that's where I think culture and empathy they come in. Now, in my experience, the most high performing teams are not those that are pushed the hardest, but they are the ones that are trusted the most. So when people feel that they are heard and they are included, they deliver faster, not because they are told to, but because they are committed to that journey. So culture gives you that alignment. Empathy ensures that you don't lose that people in the race of performance. And maybe this is something that everybody would have heard in the recent times. The recent example is uh, the resignation of astronomer CEO Andy Brand. While I will not get into the details of what happened, the Coldplay concert and things like that, but I'm looking at it from a board's point of view. Despite being a very high performing executive, the viral video that showed personal conduct with the company's chief people officer, it raised concerns about um, leadership ethics and perception. So the board, look at it, the board responded very swiftly, reinforcing that no matter how effective a leader is on paper, trust and culture, it comes first. So it kind of, illustrates to me that velocity without value is very, very fragile, and that long term credibility from holding leaders accountable to both business goals and behavioral standards. So that's what comes to my mind. Yeah.
Sure. Beautifully put and great example to end it with. So people, when they feel empowered, They are able to deliver more for you. If your focus is on creating value for people, that's when you can succeed, and that's when velocity can eventually improve as a leader. So this brings us to the last question, Manu, which is what mindset shifts are needed for emerging leaders to thrive and drive meaningful change?
think the fundamentals remain the same. Uh, Emerging leaders today must shift, of course, from being doers, being the executors, to being enablers, from solving a problem alone to building systems and building teams that solve at scale. Uh, so, one crucial shift is learning to embrace ambiguity, not as a threat, but as an opportunity to innovate. So that's one key for sure. Another important shift is letting go of the need to always be the smartest person in the room. Great leaders, and I've always believed that they are not the ones who have all the answers, but they are the ones who are asking the right questions and creating a space for others to shine. So that clearly, and that's a fundamental thing. Not now, not the current emerging leaders, but it's always been like that. And above all, I think the emerging leaders, like always, must lead with authenticity, because people don't follow titles, they follow trust. So these things, I think, are top of the mind shifts, or my message to the emerging leaders.
Sure, I'll just quickly summarize for audience's benefit. From executors to enablers, solving your problem alone to building teams who can do that, learning to embrace ambiguity. And last but not the least, you said authenticity is also the key. Another point was letting go of the need to be the smart person in the room. So great point there. Thank you so much, Manu. So this brings us to the end of the session. Thank you for sharing such grounded insights. And I think the biggest highlight of this session is that leadership is just not about how fast we move, but it is how purpose driven, how value driven we stay along the way. So thank you so much for sharing your beautiful insights today.
Thank you so much, Neha, and thanks for having me here. It was always wonderful chatting with you.
Thanks a lot. I'll just have a quick note to our listeners, Manu. Thank you so much for tuning into this masterclass. We hope you enjoyed today's masterclass. Thank you so much. See you soon.